All right, I'm here with Peter Rothstein, who is very familiar with road biking in Huntingdon. Um, what has your experience been with road biking in Huntingdon? What do you think of it?
Oh, well, it's actually really nice because there are no stoplights and you get to ride, you know, all through this beautiful area. And generally, I go into Hartslog Valley and some of the untraveled roads, and so there's no traffic, and you can just ride for hours if you want to, and say hi to the cows.
So, is there a reasonable, or is there a significant community of um, members within the community that do a lot of road biking?
There are a few. Some of the people I teach with ride. A lot of people mountain bike more. I actually ride a mountain bike on the road because it's better for my back. But a lot of the people I know bike on the trails out at Raystown, and so they really like that. And they also sometimes ride on the roads as well. And then I've seen some real, like, serious road bikers. There's a guy who actually used to live in our neighborhood, Jack Rehart, who I still see riding around, and he's gotta be in his 60s or 70s. And there are some people at the college. I think the college has a sort of a cycling club or team, and I see them riding sometimes.
And so, for non-community members, if you were to recommend a place to start out road biking, or just different areas that people can enjoy, what would you recommend?
Well, if people don't like to ride on the road, there's the Lower Trail that starts in Alexandria and goes through Williamsburg, and I think it's now extended all the way just about to Canoe Creek. So, for people who don't want to ride on the road, and also who don't like hills, because it's rails to trail, so it used to be a railway, and so it's pretty flat, and so that's good riding. Especially if you're with kids who don't want to ride on the roads. And that's where we used to ride together before we started riding on the road together.
So, do you have any experience riding in town and how that um, how that goes, in terms of managing the roads and people around you?
Yeah, sometimes I ride into the college to work, and so uh, drivers are pretty courteous in general, and the roads are pretty, there's not too much traffic. Like if I ride up Mifflin to my office and then back down Washington, there's a lot of space. Because one of the things riding on the roads, like if I go on Route 26, people sometimes don't leave enough space because by law you're supposed to allow 4 feet on the side of a cyclist, and sometimes people don't. And on 22, people generally don't leave very much space, and so I'm riding on the shoulder. But so, riding in town, the cars are going slower, and so there's more space.
Okay. Um, and I know you've lived in various cities before. How does Huntingdon compare to those in terms of bike friendliness and just, um, I guess, scenery as you ride by?
As far as bike infrastructure, Huntingdon really doesn't have any. So, like, when I go to big cities, a lot of them actually have bike lanes and things. And so over the past few years, when we go back to Chicago, there are a lot of the streets are many of them are marked with dedicated bike lanes. And when we were in San Francisco, there were a lot of dedicated bike routes. And so Huntingdon doesn't have that, but there's also not so much traffic, so it's not quite like riding in the middle of a big city. But Huntingdon has spoiled me for riding because sometimes I'll go to DC and ride around there, and it's kind of frustrating to have to wait for stoplights and worry about lots of people in traffic. So this is nice because I can just get on my bike and ride.
And so, do you view biking in Huntingdon as more of an exercise sort of thing or recreation? Because I know that one of the highlights of Huntingdon and Huntingdon County is the scenery and um, the ability to just go outside and enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I've noticed that a lot more people are coming into Huntingdon to ride on the trails at Raystown because I see cars, like especially on the weekends, coming with bikes, and so that's good for Huntingdon because it brings in people and boosts the economy. I ride for exercise mostly. So I guess you could call that recreation. But sometimes I'd bike to work. But there, I've seen people on bikes riding to probably work at Walmart and riding in town looking like they're going to work. Some people do. And I know, I guess you don't know, maybe you do know Greg Larson, who's an architect in town. I think they still live here. And he would always ride out to appointments and to work and things like that. So some people commute by bike.
All right, and I think one last question. Overall, do you think biking in Huntingdon is more of a positive or negative thing, and whether you would recommend it to other people, whether in the community or just visiting?
Yeah. I mean, it's a positive thing, I think, for cyclists certainly, because it's good for your health, but also it's a good way to if I didn't have to pick kids up at school, I would probably ride into work sometimes more. So it's a good way to not use your car and get exercise. It's also good for the local economy because now there's a real bike shop in town, which for years there wasn't, and Rothrock is really good. And so I think there are more people who are using bikes, which is good for people, and it helps keep everybody's healthcare costs down. And it's also good for the community.
All right. So thanks for letting me interview you.
You're welcome.
All right. Great.
Very nice.